Hello, my name is Gray.
And my name is Crystal.
And this is Busty Asian Beauties, a supernatural commentary podcast where I, someone who has seen this show several times,
and I, someone who only knows the show through social media, discuss every single episode of Supernatural from start to finish. Also, we are both Asian.
Both Asian, still both Asian. So for today's episode, we are discussing Season 1, Episode 7, Hookman. Written by John Shaban again, and directed by David Jackson. So, Crystal, what were your expectations for this episode?
So I had not heard of this episode before, but I assumed that it was about man door, hand hook, car door. And I guess I turned out to be right. Do you know about man door, hand hook, car door?
I know about the sentence man door, car door. I can't repeat it. But I don't know what the origin was, or I know it's a meme, but that's pretty much my knowledge.
Right, it's a well-known internet phrase that originated at the end of an attempt of a retelling of a horror story. And the horror story is there's a couple making out in a car at night, and then one of them hears on the radio that a man with a hook for a hand has recently escaped from a prison, and that he's a murderer and stuff, and they're nervous, but they decide to stay inside the car and make out, and then there's scratching outside, and I think the guy looks out the window, and then I think the story ends with the sentence, and then man door, hand hook, car door. So I didn't know before this episode that this was actually a retelling of an existing urban legend about the Hookman. I thought it was just its own thing. So I did learn that, but I was right about assuming that there would be a couple making out in a car at night, and then man door, hand hook, car door.
It literally is a man door. I can't repeat it. I really can't repeat it. I have no idea.
Yes. No, I wrote it down so I'd be able to repeat it correctly. But it's man, door, hand, hook, car, door.
So, we open in Theta sorority in Eastern Iowa University. So, there's this girl who's planning her outfit for a date. She comes out in a button-down and a skirt, and her friend is like, "Why are you wearing that? You're going on a date." So, her friend offers to give her this almost, when she hands it to her, it looks like lingerie. When she wears it, it's a bit more...
Yeah, when she wears it, I'm like, oh, that's just a normal dress.
Yeah, it's just a tank top.
But at first, it just simply did not look like clothing.
Yeah, at first I was like, oh, why is she being handed lingerie right now? But it's just a tank top to wear instead of the button down. So she wears it and it looks fine. And then she goes down to meet her date. So we go to the car where the date is happening. They're supposed to go to a party, but the guy stops at basically a lover's lane to make out. And so they make out. And the guy starts putting his hands where she didn't want them to be. So she swats his hand away. And then he does it again. And then she swats his hand away again.
God, I hate this guy.
Yeah, the guy sucks.
At first I was like, Hookman, feminist ally? But then I learned more about him and he's not.
He is the opposite of a feminist ally. So we hear the most unpleasant sound in the world, which is metal on metal scratching. And then Rich, the guy, gets out to check what the noise is. He turns around and the Hookman, which we don't see, we just see the scratches in the car, starts scratching the car and busts up the tire. And then Rich disappears. And the girl, who later on we learn is named Lori, locks all the doors, the windows, everything. And then the scratching starts happening on top of the car. And then it ends. And so she goes out to escape. Before she could fully leave, she turns around and we see Rich suspended upside down over the car, bloody. And then she screams.
Yep, he's got gashes in him. It's all very, very horror.
It's actually quite freaky.
Right, no, I was like, that was a pretty good shot and reveal. Good job, writers. You did a bad job for most of this episode, but that was a decent opening. Right, so now we're at a cafe, and Dean hands Sam his half-calf double vanilla latte. Cause Sam's a little soy boy, gay boy. I mean that with love and as a fellow member of the queer community. But yeah, Sam's gay.
It's so funny because, like, Dean is making fun of him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you see the actual drink, and it is a half-calf double vanilla latte.
Yeah, no, it literally is a half-calf double vanilla latte.
So, like, it's not like I mean, he is insulting him, but also he's just stating a fact.
He's just saying every single ingredient to make Sam feel bad. And also does he call him Francis?
I thought he called him Princess.
Oh, no, it's probably Princess. I think the transcript made a mistake. It's probably Princess. I have no clue what Francis would be, like, a reference to. So it turned out that Sam's been looking for John. He hasn't been found. Dean says, okay, whatever, who cares? Let's go work a case. Yeah, they read the details of the case. It's, guy had a mutilated body by the car, and the witness said that the attacker was invisible. Sam doesn't really want to check it out, but Dean says Dad would check it out. And then it's a very sudden cut to them driving. And I didn't understand that. Like, did you think that cut was too abrupt?
No, I thought it was fine. I mean,
Okay.
it was your typical rock music car thing as they drive. Like, I thought it was fine.
Right, but I feel like every episode the brothers swap off who is skeptical about the case and who isn't, and then they all have to talk each other into it somehow. And I think it was weird that Sam was the skeptic this time, since he was very pro helping out in episodes 5 and 6.
I'll be honest with you. The entire time you were saying that, I was like, what was last episode? And I still have no idea.
Skin Sam was very gung-ho about it because that was his friend. And then I think in Bloody Mary, he was generally fairly...
Like, they were on the same footing in Bloody Mary.
I was curious about how Sam would take to hunting in this episode, because episode 6 is so much about him wanting to be, like, the normal Stanford kid again, and then realizing that he can't be. So I was like, maybe he'll be extra gung-ho about hunting this time, like throwing himself into it. So I suppose the skepticism could be a reaction to what happened last time. And I do think it was a really interesting choice to set the episode after Skin at a college, like in an environment that Sam was had to leave. And they reference that a little bit, but I feel like they don't really get into the full potential of exploring Sam's psyche here.
We'll talk about it when we get there, but I have much to say. I have much to say.
She's 18 is most of what I have to say.
And then they drive to their destination, which is the frat house where Rich, the victim, lived.
Dean tries to be cool, which is so funny. Because Dean's very masculine, but like a very different masculinity than frat bro masculinity.
Both of them are doing something weird in this scene. Like, Dean is trying to be cool, and Sam is... I don't know what he's doing. He's expressing discomfort, is how I interpret it.
Yeah.
He's like looking around, shaking his head a little bit. He looks goofy, but like in character goofy. So they say they're frat bros from Ohio looking for a place to stay. So they enter a room where a guy is painting himself purple for the big game.
Sorry, I have a question about this scene. Okay, first, do they have fraternities, like, in your country?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Like, I mean, maybe. I have heard of hazings gone wrong. Like, that is a thing. But, like, I don't think those are fraternities or sororities that are, like, what's the term? Like, acknowledged by the school.
Okay, so they're, like, little secret clubs.
Yeah. When I was applying to universities, outside the Philippines, that is something that I took note of. Like, every school, like, a school either is like, we don't have Greek life, or like bragging about their Greek life.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck is this? What's going on?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like bragging about your Greek life is basically like bragging about your sexual assault rate on campus, I have to say,
Oh my god.
um but I don't know, maybe there's some frats that aren't like that. But okay, I guess what confused me here is, at least in my experience, first years, well, freshmen aren't in frats or sororities because you have to rush in order to get in. You have to go through like a whole application process and then forced to do a bunch of like tasks or pranks or whatever, and then you get in, and then you get hazed, and then you're in, and that usually happens, I think, in your like at the end of freshman year, so that you can join in sophomore year. So I figured it was weird that Dean said like we just transferred here and we're already in. And also later we find out that Lori is a freshman, so she shouldn't be in a sorority either. Like she's too young to have entered college and then gone straight into a sorority. But I don't know, maybe what is this Iowa? What is this college called?
Eastern Iowa.
Eastern Iowa University has a different Greek life policy than I'm aware of.
They interview this guy while Sam paints his back. So apparently Rich, this is when the name reveal happens. So like we learned that the girl's name is Lori. They asked who Lori is, and the freshman says, the guy says, she's a freshman, she's super hot, and she's the Reverend's daughter. And this whole time, Sam is painting the guy's back.
Yeah.
And Dean does this little bit where he's like, oh, you missed a spot. And poor Sam looks so mad. He's so angry.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot to break down from this scene.
Yeah.
Let's start first with Sam, right? So this entire scene and the scene prior to this, Sam looks so upset and so like angry and so uncomfortable, like depending on the context of the scene. But it varies between those three. Do you think that's like supposed to say something about his college life?
I think so, because later we see him expressing a lot of discomfort at a party, so I feel like he was, a bit of a shut-in at college, and now that he's back on a campus, he's starting to feel like a little kid being intimidated by the swaggering frat bros again.
I don't know. I thought like the whole concept of just being back on campus was uncomfortable for him. Not necessarily because he hates like frat boys or whatever.
He should.
Just because he well, I have no idea, so but he's back on campus, like the whole idea of like being back in a school and people close to his age, and then these people are like going through what he was going through, but they're going through it differently, and there may be some bitterness in that, that like they have this opportunity and Sam doesn't get to have the opportunity again.
Right, like they're worrying about football games, whereas he will never have a home and always have to spend his whole life hunting.
Okay, so that was my first point. My second point is about why is Lori considered super hot? Is it because she's the Reverend's daughter?
I think she's just considered hot in that she just looks hot.
I was confused because like she looks like every single girl in Supernatural. So I was like, what's the difference?
But every single girl in Supernatural is like way more attractive than the average girl in the world.
Yeah, that's true.
Like they only cast hot people in Supernatural. Well, they only cast hot women in Supernatural unless they're meant to be like grandmother figures or something. I mean, I think the fact that this guy mentions that she's a freshman and a Reverend's daughter do have something to do with her attractiveness, in that, I mean, okay, I personally think that relationships between seniors at college and freshmen are like really gross in terms of the age gap there, and also like the gap in experience and how used to being an adult you are. But I know that oftentimes frat bros will sort of prey on freshman girls because I think they find their lack of experience and perhaps like potential virginity somewhat attractive if they have sort of like a corruption kink or something related to that. Yeah, and then I think they also like that, like if this is like their first relationship or something like that, the girl's probably going to get attached very quickly, so they don't have to put as much effort into it. So I think that's part of why her being a freshman is considered like such a score for Rich. And then yeah, I think her being a reverend's daughter is also a score if you have like a thing for corruption and innocent girls or whatever. And also, I guess if you like to like think about the fact that like, oh, like I was the one like hot enough to lead her astray from the
Oh,
Lord or whatever.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's a whole mess. I was very uncomfortable with that line, and I don't like that the way that it was presented made it seem like duh, everyone would think this way, cuz like no. No, you're
Yeah.
kind of fucked up. After Dean hears that she's a reverend's daughter, they decide to go to the church that her dad preaches at to check it out. They show up just in the middle of a sermon honoring Rich's death. Sam and Dean come in, everyone looks at them really weird because the door makes the whole sound, and they sit down. There's a lot of prolonged eye contact between Lori and Sam, and immediately I went, oh fucking god, no. But alas, my prayers were not heard.
I was just gonna bring up the part where the priest says to bow your heads and pray for peace and power to protect our children. And Sam does. And then Dean doesn't. And then Sam elbows Dean when he notices that Dean isn't praying. I was like, oh, that's very telling of their personalities and their belief
Oh,
systems.
absolutely. No, I do remember watching that scene and writing down, this is just like in Houses of the Holy when Sam says that he prays every day. After the mass ends, Taylor is trying to get Lori to hang out on Sunday and do tequila shots and stuff. Taylor says, come on, Lori, I know this has been hard, but you are allowed to have fun. Which, I think it's just so funny that you're supposed to get over Reach's death this fast.
I also found it so funny. Like someone just died. In my experience, like if someone in your school or community dies, like that is a time for mourning. Like everyone
Yeah.
mourns, even if you don't know
Yeah, I
the
think like the
person.
entire college is like subdued for like a week at least.
Yeah, and the fact that Taylor, as we learn later, is just like, let's do tequila shots. It's quite shocking, especially because the murder was quite brutal. Like it wasn't like he died from a sickness, right?
Right, like, hey Lori, I know it's really sad that you saw your boyfriend hanging upside down from a tree, dripping blood on a car that you were in, like, and you were there while he was murdered, but like, girl, lighten
Move
up!
on.
I have issues with Taylor's writing in general. Okay, is she the first black woman in Supernatural to have a name?
Well, she's the first one I noticed to have a name.
Yeah, right. And she's been cast very much as the best friend figure who is
Yes.
promiscuous and a bad influence. And I feel like that corresponds with a lot of negative stereotypes and over sexualization of black women. So it's just kind of a mess. After Lori decides that she'll try to show up to the party, then Sam and Dean introduce themselves to her. Sam says, I kind of know what you're going through. I saw
God.
someone get hurt once. Okay, but the thing that's so. Right, he didn't say, like, my girlfriend died. He said, I saw someone get hurt once. If I was Lori, I'd be like, my boyfriend was murdered in front of me and you saw a guy stub his toe once?
A guy fell off a bike once right in front of me while I was eating a sandwich in the
It's
bus.
something you don't forget.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, on one hand, I get if Sam can't talk about it yet, but like, dude, if you're trying to get answers out of her, be a little more specific. At least say I saw someone die once.
This entire conversation, it was so obvious that Sam and Laurie are gonna have a thing because Sam leads the conversation, which he never does. And Dean lets him, which is extra suspicious. But basically, like, I guess they threw in that line because Sam is supposed to lead the conversation, but it just comes off so stupid and like, okay, you saw someone get hurt once, okay,
Okay.
fine.
Wow. Someone, like, accidentally got a paper cut in front of you in class once, Sam. Damn. Oh, it's so bad. And then the Reverend comes over and is talking about how happy he is that there are young people who want to join the church. So Dean heads off with him, leaving Sam to prey on emotionally vulnerable women. 18-year-olds. Well, no, Sam's just asking Lori about what she saw, and she says that she was seeing something that's not realistic, and Sam does this whole, I believe you, like, what you saw was real shtick, and then they look at each other for a long time, and then we go to the library.
Lori, like every time Lori is on screen, they do this thing with the filter where they soften it. And I was like, come on. Come on.
God. She witnessed a brutal murder in front of her, and also she's 18. Like, she's like she's a first year. Like, Sam's 22. Like, this is not, like, no. Boo.
So Sam and Dean are in the library, and Dean is like, so you believe her? And Sam's like, yeah. And Dean says, I get it, man. I think she's hot too. Which I was like, oh, Dean.
Which is a Dean misogyny moment.
Okay, here's the thing. Do you think Sam's actions...
Are you really... this?
No.
Okay, what?
Like,
Okay.
Sam's actions in general, right? Like, this entire episode. Do you think it counts for a point? At least some kind of point? Because technically, he was never disrespectful. He was never, like, outright misogynistic. And he never, like, actually praised on her. Because, like, when they kiss, like, he stops her, right? But he doesn't stop
After
her because...
a prolonged period of time. Right, and he doesn't stop her because he's like, you're emotionally vulnerable and also 18. He stops her because he's like, I can't. I'm still thinking about Jess. God, come on, dude.
I don't know. When we get there.
Yeah, when we get there, I think I'm gonna give Sam a few points. But
Yeah.
yes, I think that Dean's, I think she's hot too, bumps him up a point.
Dean gets a couple of points.
Dean gets many points this episode. For those following along at home, Dean has gotten his 12th misogyny point.
Oh, come on, Dean. Come on, writers. Why do you think this is funny? Why do you think this is funny? Come on.
I mean, this is John Shaban who, like, as you mentioned last time, wrote the busty Asian beauties into Supernatural. So
Yeah.
this seems to be a trend.
I feel kind of bad for Dean though, because like, I mean, he's not just like a guy that exists. He's been written this way, and he's been written to this way specifically because the audience are supposed to think it's funny. And a part of me is like, feel bitter that like, you know, they're doing this to my Dean. but but let's proceed. They continue talking, and Sam and Dean basically have this revelation that, oh, this sounds like the Hookman urban legend. And they investigate. So they bring out a bunch of papers of criminal records to read through.
Oh, don't forget when Dean eyes up the librarian.
Yeah! Man! What's the
Come
point?
on, dude. Come on.
Was this an acting choice? Or was it a directorial choice? Like, I don't know. But whatever it is, I'm like, come on. Sam finds one paper about Jacob Carnes, who murdered 13 sex workers because he was angry about the red light district in their town. So
Yeah, boo.
there are two ways that he murdered them. One is he left them in the sheets to bleed out, like in their beds, or he hanged them up on trees to serve as a warning to everyone in the town that like immorality, quote unquote, is bad. They figured out that it's very similar to the way that Rich died, so it must be this Hookman, because this guy, oh, I forgot to say, this guy also lost a hand and he replaced it with a metal hook, and that's his murder weapon. That's what he used to kill everyone that he killed.
This guy sucks. He is not a feminist ally. He's just the worst. Now we're back to Laurie's sorority. and she's talking to her dad, the Reverend, and they're arguing because the Reverend doesn't want her to be at college because she'll be drinking and partying with her evil roommate, and Lori gets mad and leaves. She goes in her room, but there are some weird vibes around, and she sees that the lights are off and that Taylor, her roommate, appears to be sleeping. And immediately I was like, oh god, really? Not Taylor. But yeah, Taylor. So now we're to the road where Rich was killed, and Sam and Dean are getting ready to shoot a ghost with some salt. Is this the first time we hear about salt being a spirit deterrent?
I mean, I'm assuming in episode 1 when Dean shot at the lady in white.
But he shot at her with the regular gun, right?
Oh my god, for real? How stupid.
Yeah, Sam literally made fun of him for it. He was like, why were you shooting at a ghost with, like, bullets?
Then why did it repel her?
I have no clue.
Because it was silver?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Does silver work on ghosts?
I think iron works on ghosts.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe.
We are lore masters over here.
We're so good. In the episode, they have this very wedged in exposition where Sam says, if it's a spirit, like, it can't be bullets. And Dean's like, yeah, it's salt. And Sam's like, yeah, salt deters spirits, huh, bro? What a fun thing we both already knew. And then Dean says, you don't have to be a college graduate to be a genius.
And Sam isn't even a college graduate, so...
Yeah, like, Sam's not even a college graduate, so that wasn't a very good dig at him. But maybe it's more of a, you didn't even have to go to college in the first place, Sam, sort of thing. They're aiming their guns, waiting for the hookman, and then a cop shows up and yells at them to put the gun down, put their hands over their heads, and then get on their bellies. Yeah, no, it was a difficult scene to watch in the ways that most scenes with police yelling are a difficult scene to watch. And Dean makes a joke like, Sam's the one who was holding the gun, like, before he lies down on the ground. Now we're back to Laurie's bedroom, and the hookman's in the closet, but she goes to sleep. She wakes up, and there's blood all over the floor. And then it's Taylor, tangled in the sheets, dripping in blood, and Laurie screams, and then written with a bloody hook on the wall are the words, aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light? And then a symbol underneath.
So, we go to the sheriff's office, where Dean has gotten Sam off the hook.
Good one.
By telling the police officer that Sam was a fraternity pledge, and that Dean was hazing him, and that the shotgun was filled with rock salt to repel ghosts, which I thought was both funny and clever. So,
yeah.
Good for them. So, at some point, Dean says, I'm Matlock, which I was like, what does that mean? So I looked it up, and apparently Matlock is a TV show about a defense attorney that, like, got people off the hook. Off the hook. And
Dean's about to steal Sam's lawboy title.
Yeah, exactly. But also I was like, this TV show looks interesting because I am very much into like I said, I like Ace Attorney.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that?
I've seen the Ace Attorney meme videos, you know, where there's an internet argument and then they change it to be happening in the world of Ace Attorney. But I don't know much else about it.
At some point I was like, I'm going to become a lawyer because of Ace Attorney. But alas, we are not becoming a lawyer.
Just like Sam's not ever gonna become a lawyer. Sorry, Sam.
Sorry, Sam. Maybe when... Oh, let's not acknowledge the ending. You know what? Let's not. The ending didn't happen.
I'll acknowledge the ending. Maybe after Dean got stabbed and, like, died of, like, tetanus and it was so funny, then after that, Sam got to be a lawyer.
Exactly. But also don't call it funny. I was depressed for 3 months
Fine.
after.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Maybe once I get there, it won't be funny. But as I was following along with it on like November 19th on
Yes.
Tumblr, hearing that Dean Winchester had died of tetanus was like the funniest thing ever.
God, I was so miserable. I was so upset. But anyway, that's for 3 years from now.
Yeah, tune in 3 years for when I still think Dean's death is funny. Maybe not. We'll see.
We'll see. They go to the car, and then the cops from the sheriff's office start running and rushing somewhere that we don't see yet. So Sam and Dean follow them. So they pass by the sorority house, which is where the police officers are. And we see Lori sitting with a shock blanket. She notices the car. Well, she notices mostly Sam passing by.
Yep.
It was so every single time Sam and Lori locks eyes, it's such a slow-mo scene, and every single time I'm like,
Yeah.
come on.
Come on. This is so forced. And I'll get into it later. But like Lori's main thoughts about Sam right now are that he's like prime murder suspect. Like that should be what she's thinking every time this guy keeps stalking her.
The Reverend is talking to the police officers, and the police officers are now suspicious of Lori. Reverend insists to let Lori go home. So they do, and she and the Reverend goes home.
Sam and Dean decide that they should break into an active crime scene right after a murder while the police
Yeah.
are still there.
The blood is still dripping from the bed.
Like, two guys, like, trying to sneak into a sorority house is already an extremely suspicious activity. And now there are also corpses and cops involved. But, you know, they didn't wait until later. They were like, now's the time. Right, so we see a shot that I've seen in many AMVs where
Yeah.
Sam and Dean are, behind
Ah.
like a corner of the house, and Dean's like peeking out with a grin. And like when I saw it in the AMVs, I was like, fun little guy. But today I learned that while he was doing that, he said, dude, sorority girls think we'll see a naked pillow fight? So yeah, boo, not fun little guy. 13 misogynies, fun little guy. So, yeah, while Dean is fantasizing about naked 18-year-olds, Sam is, again, trying to break into an active crime scene. So they climb up through the balcony into Lori's window, and they're very loudly telling each other to be quiet while there is a cop in the room, like one partly opened door away from them. But for some reason, he doesn't hear them. And then they look through the room, and they smell ozone.
The way they smell ozone is Dean says it's definitely a spirit and then taps his nose. And I remember watching this like last year and like repeating that scene over and over again because I thought it was so cute.
Oh, well, I was too busy being angry at Dean and also feeling betrayed by the AMVs I've watched to notice that. And then they notice the symbol below the writing on the wall, and it was the symbol on the hook that Jacob Carnes had. So they decide to go find the unmarked grave in Old North Cemetery where he is and do a whole salt and burn. Dean also mentions that Lori is probably, your little friend Lori is probably connected to the murders.
So we go to the party. Well, we go to a party, which, like, of course there's a party. Like I said earlier, like, two of your schoolmates just died. So time to celebrate.
Right, like, was no one, like, there's literally a person going around murdering students of Eastern Iowa University right now. Maybe we should be on a bit of a lockdown.
Even if, like, one, there's a loose murderer going around. Two, even if it was not two murders, even if it was just like two of your schoolmates got hit on the way out of campus by a car and died. Like, your school should still do like a little mourning something, right?
I don't even understand why Sam and Dean are at this party right now. Like, they're not questioning anyone there. They're not looking into anything there. Sam's literally, like, taking his library pages through this party. I don't get it.
I'm assuming they're staying at the fraternity house and that the party is happening in the frat house.
Oh, the frat house where one of the members got killed last week.
Exactly! That's what I'm talking about! Dean makes a comment of Sam holding out on him with this college thing, and Sam says this is not really my college experience, and that he was more of a library studying straight A's kind of guy.
I mean, could I add half a Dean misogyny note for the fact that when he said this college thing is awesome, he was talking about being surrounded by hot, like, 18-year-olds.
I think
Like, he was, like, grinning and looking at the girls when saying that.
I think we can lump that with the last point that we gave.
Okay, alright, so Dean's still at 13.
So, they talk about the case. Sam reveals that in 2 other times in the past, a man of the cloth who openly preached against immorality was convicted of murder that they claimed was being done by an invisible force. So they connect the dots to Reverend Sorensen, Reverend Sorensen is Laurie's dad. And they assume that he may either be summoning the spirit to protect his daughter, or the spirit could have latched onto him unknowingly, and he's like sending the spirit out to kill these people unknowingly to protect his daughter. So Dean tells Sam to watch out for Laurie, and says that he's gonna go find that unmarked grave while looking terribly upset about this whole notion.
Yeah, he very much wants to sleep with some blonde girl who's there. Then we see another scene that I see in AMVs a lot, which is, well, like later in the scene where Dean's looking through the cemetery, he's looking for the grave, and eventually finds it and starts digging it up. And I've seen him digging up the grave in a lot of AMVs, I think probably because he is like just in one t-shirt, and that's fan service on Supernatural.
As we said before.
Yeah, meanwhile, Sam's sitting outside looking at Laurie and her dad arguing through a window, looking like the biggest creep and biggest murder suspect of all time. Meanwhile, Dean gets to the end of the grave, and he says, "That's it. Next time I get to watch the cute girl's house." Okay, Dean. And then starts salting and burning the bones.
Laurie goes out to Sam and asks what he's doing, being a creep and lurking outside and being a stalker and everything. And he says, "I was worried. Sorry." And it's like,
Like, that is literally the words of the guy who killed, like, this is the words of a guy who would kill your boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like, this is absolutely a guy who would murder your boyfriend.
And then she jokes that, "Oh, I already called the cops." Which, at some point in the past, whilst watching this episode, I thought was not a joke. That she actually called the cops.
Yeah, me too.
And then, so...
Right, I was like, oh, thank God, Laurie's, like, kind of smart. She's just giving him a heads up that he should leave. But no, it was a joke, and she literally thinks that there is no danger present here, and that there's no way that the guy who's been stalking her could have wanted to kill her boyfriend.
Yeah, I genuinely thought that she called the cops. And so when the events that later occur were happening, I was like, where are the cops?
I'm anti-cop, but someone needs to break this up right now.
I thought she called the cops. Where are they? But basically, so she jokes that she called the cops.
Hurry up, drive faster.
And then he says, "Hey Sam, I think you're sweet, which is why you gotta run away from me as fast as you can." Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And then, sorry.
Like, girl, girl, you run away from him as fast as you can.
And then she says, it's like I'm cursed or something. People around me keep dying. And Sam says, again, I think I know how you feel. Which is like, we know, right?
Which sounds like what a guy who murders everyone around him might say.
Because, like, we know what he's talking about. But Lori doesn't. So, like, why is she like, like, fuck off.
Yeah, me too. Everywhere I go, deaths just happen. Also, I'm stalking you and your boyfriend just died, and I'm clearly interested in you. Don't think too hard about that.
Yeah, so Lori says, like, no one wants to talk to me anymore except you. The sheriff thinks I'm a suspect, and that all her father says is to pray and have faith. And Sam brings up that she saw them fighting earlier, which is like, creep move, Sam. Creep move.
Yeah, like, bro.
And she confirms that the Reverend is seeing a woman, a married woman. So she says, like, on one hand, do what makes you happy. On the other, if you do something wrong, you will get punished. I don't know what to think anymore. Which I thought was a good line.
Okay, with this episode, when they figured out who the Hookman was in, like, the first 5 minutes, I was like, this is so boring. Like, there has to be some kind of a twist. So then as soon as Lori said that, I was like, oh, okay, there's the twist. It's not a bad twist, it's not a great twist, but, I mean, I'm a fan of evil women. Sure, let's go.
She hugs Sam for comfort.
Yep.
And then they kiss. Mm-hmm. And this is our first makeout session in Supernatural.
Yeah, no, there's like tongue involved. Like, this is hardcore. I think, okay, did Sam and Jess
they kissed.
How long was their kiss?
I don't know. It was quite short. It was like crash and burn, and then they lean into each other and kiss.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yeah.
This one is a bit more intimate because it's not in the middle of a party. I don't know. Like, Sam...
She's 18!
Like, there's one... At one point, Sam puts up his hand on her shoulder, and it looks so big. And I was like... Okay. Fine. This is happening. Sure. And then...
Oh, God.
But Sam stops it.
Yeah, I think what happened was that Jared Padalecki saw all of Jensen's chances to make out with girls in previous episodes and was like, I need to call my agent and demand rights for Sam as well. And they were like, sure, here you go. A fucking 18-year-old, go for it.
Sam stops it. But as we mentioned earlier, it's not because she's 18 or she is obviously distraught and looking for comfort. She stops her because of Jess, and Lori infers that it's because of someone he lost, and he's like, yeah, that's exactly why. Nothing about you at all. If Jess was not a person in my life of the past, we would be continuing making out right now.
Yeah, like, I'd be all down for fucking emotionally vulnerable 18-year-olds. But sadly, my girlfriend just died, so I can't. Yeah. It would be rude to her. Jesus Christ, Sam. Okay, I think this is when we discuss how many misogyny points Sam gets for this.
I have no fucking idea. 1 seems like too few. Let's give him 5.
Yeah, no, you're right. Let's give him 5. Fuck off, Sam.
This is like emotional. You know what I mean, right?
Right, because Dean's comments are certainly harmful in that they perpetuate, like, the general history of dismissal of and, like, harmful sexualization of women. But, like, Sam's thing is, like, it's just, like, it's straight up, like, directly harmful to this girl, and he should know better, and it's just very, very bad.
Oh, Sam.
Yeah.
Sam.
Oh, Sam. Does this sort of tie into... Have you seen the post about how, at the beginning of Supernatural, we're not supposed to like Dean very much because he's so openly a womanizer? whereas Sam is written as
More sensitive guy, yeah.
the nice guy, sensitive character who, I don't know, the whatever the 2005 equivalent of the artsy boy who paints his nails and plays acoustic guitar is. And as a nice guy, he manages to sort of magically get the girl while being respectful, but also the romances are very, very unnatural and forced and sort of written as an award for Sam's nice guyness. Like, I feel like I sort of saw something like that here.
Like, I think I just skimmed that post because I don't remember everything that you just said, but I remember some parts.
Okay. Yeah.
I think I haven't watched enough early seasons SPN as much as I can recently to infer whether that's true or not, because I've honestly forgotten everything beyond like a certain point in season 1, because that's all I watched like last year, and my memory is like a year's long only.
Right,
So
and I'm assuming most of your previous rewatches were cast episodes.
yes, exactly. Like I was here for season 4 onwards mostly. I think that makes sense that Sam is supposed to be the nice guy who like gets rewarded for his niceness. I don't necessarily think that's what's happening in this episode. Like, he doesn't necessarily get rewarded for being nice, because he doesn't get rewarded because he refuses the kiss and everything. Or, like, I don't know, actually. Like, I guess the reward is the fact that she's interested in the first place.
Yeah. Like, right, like he won over the freshman reverend's daughter who's super hot.
Yeah, because like a reverend's daughter would not go for Dean. That's the logic behind it, right? Like, Dean is too promiscuous, too like whatever.
But also, like, I guess her boyfriend who died was a frat bro who, like, very clearly was trying to get it on with her before she was ready.
Yeah,
So-
and then she killed her. I mean, she didn't kill him, but like
She killed him. No, you're right. You're right. If Dean had made any advances towards Lori this episode, the hook man would have gotten him.
he would be dead.
He would have been hooked to death. So it had to be Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think the fact that this entire time Sam is never punished for kissing Lori back or something is also the writers going, look, Sam's such a nice guy. Remember earlier when you hated Rich because he didn't respect her boundaries? This guy stops the kiss preemptively. He's so good. Never mind that he is still engaging with an emotionally vulnerable 18-year-old. Like, it's fine. He's a good guy. So good that the hookman would never even try to attack him.
It also, like, the whole, like, every single woman that shows up in Supernatural has to be a romantic interest is frustrating.
Yep.
It's so frustrating. And, like, now I get why characters like, Jodie or, like characters later on, whether you like them or not. Personally, the whole cop thing, I don't approve of. But, like, the fact that they were not, romantic interests, or they were not initially made to be romantic interests, are, like, there's a reason why people got attached to those characters,
Yeah. Like, I think Charlie was popular both because she was similar to a lot of the fans of Supernatural, and also because her being a lesbian meant that she couldn't be a romantic interest, so they had to give her other personality traits. Lori should be too busy being distraught after watching 2 extremely bloody murders happen in front of her.
Yeah, and
But yeah, I guess she's kissing Sam as a coping mechanism, and he would have gone with it.
even if it was a coping mechanism, like, Sam should have been like, stop, because it's not good for you, or it's
Right.
not whatever.
Yeah. But he was like, no, this hurts me, Lori. Don't you see how this affects me?
So the Reverend calls out to Laurie from the door, but before they can argue, he gets taken by the hookman.
In a really funny shot. Like, he's just standing there and there's just a hook that comes behind him.
It looks goofy.
Ugh, get wrecked, bro.
so, so Sam grabs his rock salt gun and runs up to the room where the hookman took the Reverend and shoots at the ghost, which disappears.
Now they're in the hospital where the Reverend is recovering, and Sam's talking to a sheriff saying that he saw a hook man there, and the cop tells him to stay out of trouble because you always seem to be around. Like, he should absolutely be more of a murder suspect right now, but I guess white privilege and puppy dog eyes privilege.
He was really pulling off the puppy dog eyes in this one. The puppy dog eyes were fucking
yeah, and
deployed,
he kept calling
man.
the cops sir, like...
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
his eyes were, like, I get now what they mean by puppy dog eyes. Like, I usually, like, especially season 1, Sam, like, yes, he really does look like a puppy. Especially with his hair and everything.
Yeah, with those little bangs. Wait, no, I forgot that I'm still mad at Sam. Sam, you suck. Okay. Anyway. So Dean shows up, and also being flanked by 2 cops, and he's like, it's okay, Sam's my brother, and he says to Sam, hey, brother! Which is such an unnatural line of dialogue, but I guess kind of funny.
No, because it's like a frat bro, frat bro brother instead of brother.
Yeah. Is that what... I feel like frat bros would call each other bro, not brother, though.
Yeah, well, I think it's good thing that he said brother because, like, maybe they're not sure what alias Sam gave, or they're not supposed to be brothers as well, right? Because they're supposed to be frat bros. I don't know. I don't fucking know. But, like, it sounds unnatural, but it does make sense in the context.
He and Sam start talking and heading out of the hospital. Sam's like, yep, I saw the hook man. And Dean says, well, I burned all the bones, so why? And then they realize that Dean didn't burn the hook. So it's probably the hook that they need to destroy. And also Sam reveals to Dean that he thinks that Lori is the one whose emotions the hook man is latching onto because of all she said about getting punished and how she's upset at her dad. Yeah, so it turns out that Lori accidentally killed her roommate because she felt conflicted about doing tequila shots. Like, come on. That's such a bad reason to... how is she conflicted enough to the point of murder because Taylor wanted her to do tequila shots?
Oh, well. I don't know. Maybe Hookman doesn't see in Shades of Grey.
Whatever. Supernatural hates black women, etc. Yeah, they decide to go and find where the hook is after, like, saying in sync, so if we find the hook, we stop the hook man, which was, like, we got that already. Like, they didn't need to make such a big deal out of the exposition, but whatever.
And then they smile afterwards. Like, they smile about the fact that they figured it out. And it's like, it's literally so easy to figure out, man.
Like, duh!
So they arrive at the house and the church, which are opposite each other, I think. And Sam picks to go to the house, and Dean says, stay out of her underwear drawer. Is that a point? It's a point.
Yeah, it's a point. Dean's at 14 misogynies now.
But Sam is catching up. Go, Sam!
Yeah, no, Sam's at 5 from one thing that he did, but it was a real bad thing. And Dean's at 14.
So in the church, they're burning all the silver. And Sam arrives, and he brought all the silver from the house, and they're burning it. And they hear creaking upstairs and go up to see Lori praying. So Sam goes up to her and says that she says that it's her fault, that's why everyone's getting hurt or killed. She's heard about avenging angels, and that those angels are killing, people around her that she's angry with and that she thinks deserve punishment. Sam insists that that's not the case, it's not her fault, it's not an angel. And Lori says, they didn't deserve to be punished. I do.
Yeah, like, Lori, like, you, at this point, that every time you think that someone deserves to be punished, this hook guy gets sicked on them. And you're like, you know what would be a good thing to say out loud right now? I should be punished. Hey, Hookman! Hey, Hookman! Come over here! Stab me right now! Girl!
The chase starts. So the Hawkman chases them and attacks them. Sam gets demolished in this scene. Absolutely demolished. He gets thrown around, he gets slashed in the arm. But finally, Dean comes up and shoots Hookman with the rock salt. They figure out that there's one silver item that they missed, which is Laurie's necklace, which is, as she says, a church heirloom and was given to her by her dad before she went to college. So Sam stays behind to defend Laurie. In an awesome scene where Dean throws him the gun and Sam throws Dean the necklace, and it's like a switcheroo and it looks super cool.
Yeah, but also, like, logically, they should just hold on to the things that they have and run towards the direction that they should. But because I guess Dean's trying to wingman for Sam, he'll risk Laurie's life.
Sam stays back to defend Laurie, and he does a very poor job. Like, he should have put his body in front of Laurie's, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he did in season 1, episode 2.
Yeah.
But here, he doesn't. He just, like, stays beside her. And it's like, come on, Sam. Be a better defender. Anyway, Dean goes to burn the necklace and succeeds. And the Hookman burns up, and now they're all safe.
And now it's the last scene. So they're outside, there are cops around. Dean says, yeah, we all saw this guy with a hook and we fought him off and then he ran away. And the cop tells him again that he and his brother should get out of town. And Dean's like, oh, don't worry, we're gonna go. Laurie and Sam are chatting by the ambulance. Laurie says, I still don't know what happened, but I do know you saved my life. My father's too. Thank you. Girl, you know what happened. You saw the Hookman. This speech annoyed me so much because it sounds almost exactly like what Andrea tells Sam at the end of Dead in the Water, right? She's like,
you're right.
She's like, oh, my dad was bad, but he loves me and he loves my son and I'll hold on to that. And you saved me and you saved my son. Thank you. Like, well, just figure out more than one way to write a woman supernatural, or I guess more than 2 ways. The 2 ways are love interest and slut seem to be the 2 ways Supernatural is writing women. Please figure out multiple ways to write women supernatural. Sam and Dean decide to, like, get in the car and head off. Sam's, like, sort of looking at Laurie through the mirror, and Dean says, we could stay. And Sam, like, shakes his head and goes away. First of all, okay, you can't stay. You just told the cop you were going, and the cop hates you, and also, like, eventually they're gonna figure out that there's no Sam and Dean in the school record of students. Like, I'm shocked that the cops didn't, like, ask for their student IDs at any point. Man, I mean, I'm glad that Sam said no to staying behind and pretending to be a student so he could keep perving on the 18-year-old, but you know that he's just leaving because he's sad about Jess, so, like, ugh.
Yeah, come on, Sam.
Come on, Sam.
But they do leave.
Yeah, they leave.
And that's the end of the episode.
Get the fuck out of here, you guys.
So, what did you think of the episode?
I mean, it sucked.
It was boring. It contributed nothing to the plot.
Like, there was a chance to get Sam content out of him being at a college and relating to someone whose partner just died. But instead, we had to sit through this shit.
And, like, as we have talked about extensively, the whole Sam thing is like, come on, Sam.
Come on, Sam.
Come on, writers. Come on.
Come on, John Shaban.
It's so annoying because, like, it feels like Sam episodes are so few and far in between.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get one, and it's like this, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, we get one where Sam earns 5 misogyny points off of one action just due to the egregiousness of that action.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, best line, worst line. I'll start. The best line for me is, like, when Laurie says, like, on one hand, do what makes you happy. On the other, if you do something wrong, you will get punished.
Yeah.
because I think like zooming out and looking at the supernatural story, on one hand, do what makes you happy. Sam and Dean never get to do that. On the other hand, if you do something wrong, you will get punished. Sam and Dean never get punished, or
Yeah.
like get punished constantly, depending on your perspective. And I was just like, huh, interesting line, because like what I said earlier, like as it applies to supernatural.
I guess since there are no good lines in this episode, I will second your best line. I
You will hitch your wagon on my wagon.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love saying that. I have no idea if it's correct. Like, I'm sure there's a statement that like goes like hitching your wagon, but I have no idea if that's how you say it.
I'll hitch my wagon to your line. I like what you just said about how it applies to supernatural. I think that is interesting, especially since, yeah, do what makes you happy versus you get punished is also sort of, I believe, what the Chuck conundrum becomes, because like they're team free will and they want to do what makes them happy, but I guess the narrative punishes them if they go outside the bounds of what Chuck wants the story to be. So yeah, that's interesting.
What's your worst line?
I'm just gonna go with Sam's, like, no, I can't. Cause, like, fuck you, Sam.
My worst line is I saw someone get hurt once.
So bad.
Sure, Sam. You saw someone get hurt once. Good for you. So IMDb rating. I'll go first. I'll say it's I'll go low with this one. 7.8.
Okay.
Because everything else has been an 8 something, right? But I think this one warrants our first line of 7.
Definitely.
Of course, next week's episode is definitely gonna be line of 6 or 7. I'm sure. I'm positive.
Right.
Or actually, I'm not too sure because, like, after the finale, people started rating Bugs higher. Are you aware of that?
Oh, really? So that the finale would be the worst rated one?
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, mine is 7.8.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna go lower just because I hated this episode so much. I think I was gonna guess a 7.5. Just because, I mean, I think this was a boring episode, and I feel like most people would agree that the romance was pretty shoehorned in. So, I mean, it'll probably be higher than my guess, because it seems like the supernatural scores stay sort of stable around an 8, but we'll see.
Okay, let's go. 8.8. 8 over 10.
8.8?
No. 8 over 10.
Okay, God, I was like, how did it almost get a 9? Okay, an 8 over 10. That's exactly the same as episode 2, right?
Yes, it is. Why are they so scared to go down?
Yeah.
It's bad,
Like, it's
bro.
not
It's a
good
bad episode.
I guess maybe the Hookman legend was bigger in 2005, so people just thought it was fun to have a take on it.
Maybe so.
But man, like, just go below the 8. I promise it won't hurt. It's not good.
I swear to God, if next episode, like, people got bumped Bugs out of the line of 7 range, I would be so pissed. Yeah, that's it. That's it for this episode of Bus Asian Beauties. Next time, we will be talking about Season 1, Episode 8, Bugs. Leave us a rating or a review wherever you get your podcasts.
Follow us on social media. We are on Twitter at twitter.com/beautiespodcast and on Tumblr at bustyasianbeautiespod.tumblr.com. Our official tag is BABpod, all one word.
So you can email us any feedback, comments, or inquiries at bustyasianbeautiespod@gmail.com. Please do give us feedback. We love attention, but also, like, it's just really fun to talk to you guys. So yeah,
Yeah.
see you guys next time.
Bye.